wasn't it recording?
It recorded and it stopped and it won't go. And now
Is that your fault or production truck's fault?
Take the blame. Own it.
I gotta do that over again. You know how hot it is in here. We're live on the radio, so just whatever you were doing, keep doing it. We're gonna start over.
If you're on the radio, push the rewind button about 10 minutes, and you'll find exactly where we started.
La, 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 la. Just go when I'm ready. You know, this is starting to get fun doing podcasts. I did one yesterday where I did it from home, and I kind of have the process down now. I mean, I have the lavalier mic and so forth, but the guy in his call made it even more difficult because the guy I was doing it with and his wife, talking about grief and loss and stuff like that, but he's a videographer. And he tried to get it just perfect on a podcast, and it, like, you can get 95% of the way there for good quality, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he wanted to close the gap up to 99 or 100. Yeah. And I kept telling him, like, no, we don't need that. We don't just sit here, sit there, and blah, blah, blah. It took forever to get it right. And I'm like, I don't think that people understand that how easy it is to do a podcast from your living room.
Yeah. What, you know,
wait, we got to start.
You at the Ring doorbell probably, you know, you probably got deliveries going on in the background that you're hearing. The guy's going crazy. Yeah.
You ever do that? Anyways.
My dog usually
let
chimes
me start this over. Ready? We're going to start it at 9:18 if that helps anybody. Hey, everybody. This is episode 157 of Mastering Local Marketing, a very popular podcast. And to all of our foreign listeners, thank you for listening and sending it on to your cohorts. The principles we talk about are ubiquitous. I love that word. And they can go to any culture because marketing yourself is the same everywhere. And so is likability. People like to think they make buying decisions based on price, quality, convenience, or logic. And quite frankly, sometimes they do. But in local business, wherever the heck you are, there is another factor that quietly influences almost every decision. Well, I already said what it was. But the question is, Adriana, do people like you? Do they like your team, your tone, your story, your attitude, the way you treat people? This episode looks at the psychology of likability in local marketing and why customers often choose the business they feel best about when buying. He's Matt Hansen, a digital marketing professor with, I would say, a fair to midland likability factor.
Fair. Wow, I got the fair.
Fair to midland, that is a term that our producer, Adriana Alvarez, who just graduated from college, has never heard, right? Fair to midland.
That means I get a 6.5 out of 10. I think is where he's going with that. That's funny.
Can we talk about likability? I'm going to tell you, when I was a trader at the Chicago Board of Trade, and I had a buddy that started to announce games for me, also worked at the Board of Trade. So I kind of was moving there for 2 decades, and then I came here, right? And I started media. And he comes to a game, and we're going to do the game. And all of a sudden, I'm barking at all of the people running around, all the producers, and I think then it was just radio, but we might have been filming it too. And he goes, hey, man, I don't want to tell you this, but you're talking to them how a trader talks to the clerks on the floor of the Board of Trade. And he goes, it's not a good look. I go, what do you mean? He goes, people around and people who work for you, maybe they're kind of used to it now, but you're just like short, quick, kind of rude commands. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, you need to change that. So I always remembered that. And I don't know, Adriana, I bark commands at you from time to time, but I try to listen is part of it. He goes, you don't listen to anybody. You just tell them what to do and then turn your head. And I'm like, okay. He goes, that's spiteful. I wouldn't like you. I wouldn't buy advertising from you. And from that moment on, I tried to at least listen or get rid of that. Because my wife said I did that. I would do that with her. Hey, give me the suitcase. Boom. Move. Because when you're trading, that's what you would do. And I learned how to be rude. I learned how to be rude and quick. As a matter of fact, you can't be nice because that's seen as weakness in the pits.
Right.
But it was a whole different story when you're trying to run a retail business.
Yeah, no. Your wife had to love that.
Oh, got it. And then
I think we've all done that at some point, and we get called out for it. But yeah, I think you're right that people want to be listened to. They don't want to be barked at. They want to work with people that are likable, right? And I think we've talked. I want to go back to my insurance. I'm sorry.
We're taking this from a 6.5 at best in terms of likability. Is going to tell us about likabilityness.
Yeah,
I gotta say that I'm probably nicer now after 20 years at the Board of Trade than you are.
Really?
I would think so.
Okay.
All right, Adriana,
it's
let's
a
get
debate.
a ruling. Who's nicer? Oh,
Uh-huh.
chose Matt Hansen.
As I sip
And
my
I'm
water.
your boss. Go get me water. Hurry up. Do the
Yep.
coffee.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was gonna say there's no AC at the moment, so there was AC in the classrooms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Purdue is very cold, actually.
Actually, no. It's depending on where you go. There are some places where it is
Yeah.
terrible.
No, I mean-
we're having just a conversation to
Right.
kind of show our listeners and viewers about likability. Okay, they're seeing us, we're being honest, we're laughing. Maybe we're more likable. Probably trying a little too hard is my guess. What does likability mean to you?
Likability, in the terms of marketing, and that's what we're talking about, is about understanding that you have to put the best people forward, right? So individuals that have that ability to talk with customers, to share with customers, to listen to customers are going to drive more business than people that just kind of shout and, don't listen, don't make any modifications whatsoever. This goes back to research. This goes back to sales. It goes back to a variety of different ways in marketing. I've recently, my insurance agent, I've had her for years, and she just recently retired. And, I had worked with her on a variety of different things, and I actually had taken some of my insurance policies away from her because of the company that she worked for a larger insurance company, and she just couldn't get the rates low enough to keep the same coverage and all this other
Is
stuff.
that the real reason?
It's
you
the real
moved it?
reason. It's the real
It
reason.
wasn't like you saw her talking in a degrading fashion to her employees?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Not like you. So,
Can't believe my own. We work very closely together. Says you're more likable than me. That's just as a.
well, see, I pay them up front, so it's a lifetime of
Oh wait,
compliments.
I know what it is.
Yeah.
Adriana just got her bachelor and had to take a bunch of classes from you, and now she's going into her master's. When you will teach her
No,
again.
she won't see me.
No, all right.
No, so
Well,
can't.
Your friends, she'll see your friends. So, anyways,
Anyway.
I know what it is. There's always an angle.
No, there's no.
There's always an angle why I'm not the most likable person in a room.
Maybe that's why the likability scale goes in my favor.
All right, go ahead.
All right.
I'm sorry to get.
So, anyways, so I have this this insurance agent, and I love her to death. She's been part of the family, quote unquote, for years. But I told her, I said, this means nothing in terms of our relationship and all this other stuff. I said, but let's compare these numbers. I just can't. This doesn't make sense. And she, you know what she says to me? She's like, completely understand. Makes sense. If I can have the opportunity to quote it every year, I would love to do that. But I strongly suggest you go with a better deal than what I'm giving you. So I went to another one who was, in fact, a former student of mine. I called her up and I said, hey, we've got to move some things. And, you know, she took it. She ran with it. She's the new insurance agent, essentially, because she's helping us with all the different things that we need insurance for. Well, my original one has since retired and a new guy has come on, and he seems great. And he asked if he could quote out some things and all this other stuff. And I said, absolutely, right? The funny part was I got one email for one policy and I didn't get anything else coming through. And it kind of went to my junk folder and I saved it. And I said, all right, well, I'm going to see what happens from here. Because I know my former one and my current one will call me or text me instantly with information when they get it. I didn't get a phone call back. I didn't get a text back. I didn't get anything back from this guy. I got no follow-up. So I'm not feeling the need to like jump back over to this old insurance company because I'm not getting the real relationship there is the between my agent and myself and having these conversations and fully like it's a back and forth follow-up. But I didn't get that with the new person. So when we talk about likability and creating resistance, I'm resistant to go back, even if they're a little bit cheaper. I'm resistant to go back because I'm not getting the same thing coming back here, right? So the personal attention, it's a simple text message. You have my phone number. I mean, you can text me and say, hey, I've got your quote. It's this much or whatever it is. Or you can call me, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But that's the difference in that sale. So if they were to come back and let's say they're $100 cheaper, I probably would still look at it, right? But if they come back and they're $1,000 cheaper, I would definitely jump back over. But now I'm not getting the thing that I value more just because I'm not getting that relationship that I'm so used to. And that's what you see with sales is people that are much more likable. We appreciate them more. We will talk to them more. We will carry on conversations about a variety of other things. Whereas people that just kind of hide behind their computer and send an email and don't really have the conversations, we don't build that rapport. We don't feel any obligation to call them back or to deal with them. So that's what I mean by likability. Put your best people forward. Now, I understand there's not everybody out there is got salespeople that are out there and selling, but if you've got a cash register that people are sitting at and you've got the most cantankerous person in the world sitting there behind that, that's not a fun interaction, right? So as you're checking out, and somebody's crabby and they, have you thought about buying this? No, I'm good, thank you, right? Like it's this pushback that we do because nobody wants to deal with anybody that's in a cantankerous mood, and that's my favorite word, by the way.
I can do every word backwards. Suarec, but that one, I always gets me. That's like a one stumper. If somebody, I'm at a party and I take the lampshade off my head and they're like, all right, how about parallelogram? Oh, that's easy. It go back and forth. Statutory, erotitats. I could do it, but I can't. Cantankerous is like just whatever. It sets up badly for anybody that's slightly dyslexic. So, to summarize that, or to kind of move off of that, yes, likability, it lowers resistance. Put your best people in front-facing situations. So, let's go back to me yelling, barking rude commands at the people who work for me at a basketball game or a football game or baseball game, whatever we're announcing and producing. My clients may go to that game and they're going to see that, right? And they notice the owner, the staff, the relationship. I'll go one further. When I first left the Board of Trade, still talking like a cantankerous person from Chicago, and the city of Chicago used to be filled with people that it was okay to just kind of be rude, and
Right.
that's how you had to be, and everybody knew that. And but I came and I bought the local radio station, and then I would be on the air, and then I would go out into the public. Well, I never had to deal with the public ever.
Right.
I mean, I never left my board of trade culture. So it was really kind of embarrassing because I thought, and people would come up and go, oh, yeah, hey, thanks for listening, bye. All right. And I had a guy named Dan McNeil. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
He was the #1 sports guy in Chicago for years. He lives down here in Highland, and he and I are pretty good friends. About 15 years ago, maybe 20, he comes and he goes, hey, man, I'm going to tell you something. He's still on the air. He's still, big deal in Chicago. And he goes, all right, I'm just going to tell you, a number of people have come to me. And I go, what are you talking about? I mean, and he, honestly, he's a friend of mine. I could say he's like the rudest dude on the air. Maybe not so much off the air, but he's just really cantankerous.
Yeah.
And he goes, a number of people have told me they come up to try to tell you, and they're all excited to talk to you and meet you. You're on the air and everything. And you just brush them off. I go, well, I mean, what am I supposed to do? He goes, what do you mean, what are you supposed to do? He goes, here, I'm going to give you something. He gives me the 3-minute rule. He goes, if somebody comes up and they listen to the show regularly and they feel like they're your friend and you have a friendly voice on the air, it's just when you're off, you're just a schmuck. And so I use the 3-minute rule. If somebody listens and they come up and I'm with my wife or my family or whatever, I tell them, I go, anybody that comes up to me, they get 3 minutes no matter what. Hi, how's your family? All right, well, who else is listening? Well, I make my kid. He's 8 years old. He drives in the back, and they tell me funny story. And I'm really interested in it. Mm-hmm. And I would talk to him for 10 or 15 minutes, but I'm with my family, and my wife gives me the 3 fingers after like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so it is a way to remember that, A, I want to talk to people, but you have to put it forward that you are on stage as a business owner more than you would ever realize.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, people will recognize you. People will see you out. I mean, even if you just own a local business that does enough advertising and you've kind of been in those advertising placements, people see you and they know exactly who you are. And if you're treating somebody poorly out in public, I mean, they will, they'll talk to 20 other people telling, oh, I saw Jim the other day yelling at his staff. Good. That's just.
That was embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you get. And I, to be honest, I completely understand going from Chicago downtown to more of an, kind of the area that we're in today. I would say 20 years ago is when I kind of pulled myself out of the city of Chicago and kind of was put into Northwest Indiana to understand the differences. And it took me probably 10 years to really comprehend a local mentality and that everyone is so connected. You can hide in a city really well, and you can be like, let's face it, Chicago, New York, LA, it's all the same thing. It's a lot of, a lot of pushback. It's a
Flash.
Yeah. And quite honestly, even my wife called me out on it years ago when we met. She's like, you are just so, how did she put it? It was some abrasive. Just, she would say I was cocky. And I said, well, I had to be in those situations because I was flying all over the U.S. and I was doing all of these major deals, and you had to be that. But I quickly learned that did not work in a local area. It actually pushed people away. So I had to kind of relearn everything. And it's funny because I struggled finding business for a while because everyone's just, well, I know this person, I work really well with them. And I'm like, yeah, but, I've done all of these different things. And yeah, that's fine. They're a friend of mine. And that's when you start to realize it's about relationships, and it's, you burn somebody in a local area, and more people are going to find out about it than you even have an idea, right? So
To the third or fourth power.
oh, it's absolutely crazy. So you have to understand that. I know, whether you are listening in a small town that has 1,000 people in it, or you're listening in a major city, you got to realize there's a certain dynamic that you have to play in. And even if you're in a major city, even the neighborhood that you're in is going to start to notice, right? So we were in when I used to work in the city, it was in a building the first building was 13 stories high. The next one was 27 stories high. But you started to know everybody in there in those individual buildings. And then you'd meet other people around the area, and people, even though you're in a major city, they would get to know who you were, and you would have lunch with different people and all this other stuff. But like, it's still a relationship business. And if you are abrasive and just come across like that, please either pull yourself out of those conversations, pull yourself out of your marketing, and put somebody in there that is more likable, because all you're doing is more damage than good. And I can count multiple businesses through the years that I've met the owner and they're in their marketing, and you just kind of go, ooh, that's never going to work.
It's going to be a tough client.
Yeah.
All right, we need to get to two more parts about this. All right. In the comments, once in a while, someone said that they like when we tell stories.
Mm-hmm.
You just got way longer in the tooth yesterday when he went from straight numbers to having a little crooked numbers in it. But so fake niceness. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
This morning I came down here at 4:45 in the morning. I can't get morning show. I don't do the morning show anymore, but it's only been 42 days and 5 hours that I haven't done the morning show. No, I don't miss it.
Not that you're counting.
Yeah, exactly. But I can't sleep. I'm trying to sleep past 3:50, 4 o'clock. I can't do it. I just pop out. And I come down here, and I work for a little bit, get some things done. And then I'm like, I'm going to go to Munster Donut and get some donuts and get a coffee and give my wife donuts for work. And then I realize it on my way there, and I feel bad about this because I grew up behind Munster Donut, local donut shop for 70 years maybe. And I noticed that they just opened up right on Calumet Avenue a Dutch Brothers coffee. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting ready to go into Munster Donut. I'd probably spend $30, a couple dozen donuts and a coffee. If you're in LA, you're like, you get 2 dozen donuts and a coffee for $30. I think it's more like 22. Yeah. But anyways, I turn around, I go into Dutch Brothers Coffee, and a brand new opening, right? I pull in 5:10 in the morning, and there's 3 dudes out there walking around. They just opened up. Oh, I'm from Arizona. Oh, I'm from Oklahoma. They brought people in, and they're talking to you as you're just trying to order a coffee. And all I wanted was a coffee. I said, I want to try their coffee. I love coffee. And then they're talking to me. They're asking me about the logo on my shirt, and they're trying to talk to me. And then I get up to the place where I'm going to pay. Hi, how are you? Oh, it's such a beautiful morning, blah, blah, blah. And what are you going to do today? Oh, it's so hot out there. And I'm like, It's 5. You got to know where you're at and what you're doing. It's 5:10 in the morning. These 3 guys are hanging out here, and there's people in the condos right behind it. I'm like, they're out. They're talking loud to me and everything. What if this guy wouldn't have his window open today?
Yeah, no. No.
Because I think it's the hottest day in a long time. But I was like, man, I thought maybe that they had cameras on them, and they had to do that and show they're making an effort and that kind of thing. But I'm like, at 5:10 in the morning, that fake niceness is not. I don't. I mean, it almost was too much. I don't know if I'll go back.
Yeah. Well, coffee is an interesting thing. Maybe after you've had the coffee to have the conversation, but I mean, at 5 o'clock in the morning, you haven't had coffee. You've been up for an hour or two already. I mean, like, I get it. I completely understand it.
I literally kept looking away, like, hey, all right, I'm gonna fiddle with something. Okay, so what about after that? What are you gonna do later? And I'm like, no. Yeah. Maybe this was
Did
what
you hold up the 3 fingers
in your. He gave you like, you know, in the training session,
Yeah.
he taught you how to do this and how to follow up, kind of like, remember McDonald's? That's what they call suggestive selling.
Yeah.
As soon as you've ordered, hey, would you like some fries with that too? Did I say I wanted some fries? No, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but the fake niceness is built into some of these systems.
It is. It is. And I think human beings understand they're doing it just like it's one thing if you ask a question, right? Like, oh, you got any big plans today as they're getting your coffee together? Okay, fine. But to continue to go on and on and on and on, I mean, you know, again, going back to your 3-minute rule, I mean, I would assume a coffee place is trying to turn over as many people as possible. I've seen, you know, whether it's Starbucks or, you know, all these other ones that are popping out at this. I think we're getting a Dutch Brothers in our hometown as well. But
Honestly, right around the corner here.
yeah, they're just coffee places are popping
Petros
everywhere.
Remember we've had breakfast there before? Gone. They're flattening it and they're putting a Dutch Brothers.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
they must have systems. I think this is built in.
Oh, yeah.
Fake niceness is built into their system. And I think they're going to realize that where the Calumet region and people work in steel mills where they bark orders, people work in oil refineries where they bark orders, where an area where you're kind of expected as a high school coach to yell at the ref. I mean,
Yeah.
that kind of thing could maybe be okay in Mobile, Alabama, but not here.
What's funny, have you watched Landman?
No, but I've heard about it.
So in Landman, they have this coffee place that all the guys go to in the morning. I won't get into the type of coffee place that it is, but it's basically a bunch of guys lined up in pickup trucks, and they order coffee, and the one guy in the back orders a latte with all this special stuff, and they literally all start honking at him because it's turn, right? Like turn it over as fast as possible. And I think that's what we're kind of like Landman here, where we want our coffee fast. We don't want to have the conversations, but you have to read the room, and that's the hard part. I don't think they were reading the room. I mean, if you're turning away, if you're looking away, that's sales 101. They don't want to be bothered with these questions. Let's hurry it up. Let's listen to them. So the fake niceness is one thing. I get it, that you've built it into your systems, and they've obviously been very successful if they're opening all of these franchises everywhere. But you have to read the room. You have to understand it. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Sales 101. I think, can one of these new episodes in the next couple of weeks just be titled Sales 101?
Sure.
Let's go back to that part that we covered many times. But I think that the sales funnel and the attitude towards sales, if you are looking for really, really basic stuff, you would go back and you'd find that. We got one other thing to hit real quick. The local aspect. I love when you talk about that. People want to buy off of someone who lives in their community and owns and invests in their community. If you can do as good as the national chain, you will do well in your area.
Right.
Well, you have to do well in your area, and all of this comes in as a factor, but likability might be the number one factor.
Yeah.
Outside of the product.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was at a high school open house for one of my kids' friends the other day, and we were talking about restaurants and they were talking about Crown Point, Indiana, and how there's just a plethora of restaurants, and many of them over on Broadway are more chain focused, but you still have a lot of local restaurants. And that was what this person that I was talking to was like, I love the fact that I don't have to just think about a chain every time I'm going to a restaurant. There are all these different local ones. You know, we were talking about, I think last week we were talking about plumbing, and, you know, you see a lot of these plumbing companies getting bought up right now into these national chains or regional
VCs.
chains. Yeah.
It's like a VC thing. Buy up the local plumbing, buy up the local dentist, buy up the local hardware,
Right.
put them all together with your stuff, and then fire the guy who sold it to you.
Yeah, and you know, now you've got, you know, oh well, we do plumbing and HVAC and electrical and all, and it's just like, I just want Joe the plumber to come over because Joe and I have a good relationship, and I know that Joe's going to take his time and do it right. And many times I'm going to hear a little bit of stories about Joe and his family, which is perfectly fine with me, right? And it's hard to find those individuals, but when you do today, it's amazing, right? And those are the ones that you know they're going to fix it right. They're not going to upcharge you on things and all this other stuff. So, like, I would rather have Joe the plumber than, in that sense, than hire some company that's going to come out and charge me $200 just to come out and look at things. And then all of a sudden I've got a $4,000 bill for something and I don't even understand what they've done. I would rather have a local person that is more, more like us. And that's the lesson that I've learned dealing with local businesses here, coming out of Chicago and dealing in kind of the Northwest Indiana market, is that they're looking for somebody to handhold them a little bit more and not just to be told, all right, well, here's the money. This is how much it's going to cost. And I like those people more. And maybe it's personal opinion, but more times than not, you're going to get a better experience by dealing with those types. And many people run away from that. They're like, oh, I want to seem bigger than I am. Don't. And that was kind of I helped start a variety of businesses over the last 20 years. And many of the people are always like, oh, I want to show people I'm bigger than I am. And I'm like, why? Like, you're losing the local vibe by doing that. And that's a tough lesson to learn.
He's Matt Hansen. I'm Jim Dela. It's been episode 157. It's about likability, but we're going to name it Joe the Plumber. Until next time, see you later. Hey, everybody. Episode 158 of Mastering Local Marketing. If you want to see what we look like, you go to YouTube and just type in Mastering Local Marketing, and it'll come up under the WJOB 1230 YouTube channel. And if you want to catch us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, all you got to do is go to one of those places and just type in Mastering Local Marketing. And many of you are listening on my radio stations, WJOB AM 1230 and 104.7 FM here in Hammond, Indiana. Do you make mistakes? Every business makes them, but what happens next may matter more. Customers are not always looking for perfection. They are looking for proof that your business cares when something goes wrong. Here today in this episode, we talk about the marketing power of owning your mistakes, responding with honesty, and turning uncomfortable moments into trust-building opportunities. Because your reputation is not built only when everything goes right. Sometimes it is built by what you do after things go wrong. Matt Hansen, digital marketing professor here at Purdue Northwest, is off the clock right now because it is summertime. But thanks for coming in.
Always. Love it.
Can you hide your mistakes?
Nope. Do not hide your mistakes.
What do you mean?
So let me take you back for a story, and I like to bring in the stories.
That's what
you
we are. We're storytellers.
We're storytellers. That's what we do. So 2 years ago, I have this client of mine, and basically I do a lot of white label media placement for other agencies, and they had given me this client, and they said, okay, can you set up a Meta account or Meta ad campaign for him? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. So it was New Year's Eve I was setting this up. I had no plans. I wasn't going anywhere, and it was kind of like early afternoon.
I wouldn't be telling people that.
No, it's fine. I mean, I've had my days earlier in life, but it's good now. So I'm setting up accounts on New Year's Eve, and I'm kind of already tired, and I'm just putting this stuff in there, and I get the ads in there. I set up the account, and I publish it. So 2 days later, She's like, all right, I'm going to go in and just double check, make sure everything's firing where it needs to be. And I looked and I went, oh no. I had spent $2,500 in 2 days. Their entire budget was $2,500 for like 2 months. It was a small client, right? And I went, oh, all right, this is not good. So I stopped it. And I picked up the phone and I called them. I said, well, you got my first mistake. I'm like, what'd you do? I said, well, I just spent $2,500 in 2 days on your client. So if they got a whole bunch of
over the holiday,
right? Like, that was a waste of money. And I said, where am I sending the check? And they said, what do you mean? I go, well, I screwed up. I got to own it. I completely, instead of setting, there's a little setting in there that you can set it per day or lifetime budget, right? And I set it to daily, which got me in a bind, right? And it's one of those things. It's a mistake that can happen. I mean, if anyone that has ever been in the meta system and the ad manager, like, crazy things happen in there from time to time. You got to refresh it, and like things disappear. It's weird, but I owned it, and I said, I get it. It's $2,500. I need to cut a check to somebody because they shouldn't own this. You shouldn't own this as an agency. You know what they said to me? Don't worry about it. And I said, you sure? And they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. Put, $2,500 in for the time frame that we had for a lifetime budget. We'll just eat the $2,500. You're good to us. Not a big deal. And I said, no, I feel bad about this. Let me cut the check. And they're like, no, honestly, we're good. I said, all right, I appreciate that. If there's a favor I can do in the future, if I can run the campaign, I'm running this campaign. We won't charge you anything for running this for the next month. Perfectly fine. Now, I could have done all kinds of things with that, right? And a lot of people are probably sitting out there going, $2,500, that's a lot of money, to lose and all this other stuff. The agency that I work for ate the cost on that. I didn't charge them anything, but they ate the cost. And that's what I mean by people are going to make mistakes and you need to own them. And I've seen more often than not, people will make a mistake and try to cover it up.
What happens then?
If you make a mistake and cover it up, you may get away with it, right? You may get away with it somehow, some way. But what happens if they uncover that you made a mistake and tried to cover it up and you got caught? You've lost that customer, you've lost that client forever, right? Now, going back to this agency, I've worked with this agency for years, and we've had our ups and downs with things and, all that other fun stuff. But, like, we have a good rapport, and I will probably mess up something in the future, and they will probably mess up something in the future. In fact, I had a conversation with them yesterday and told them that they had made a mistake in selling something to a client that we couldn't physically do in the digital space and that they need to go back, right? So it's this working relationship that we have, which is really good. But understand that if you hide a mistake and it gets... you show your hand at some point, that customer's gone forever. They're not going to trust you, and they're going to tell others, and it's going to get real ugly.
Mistake fixing. We talk about likability, trying to build that into your systems and into your brand. Do you need to address that? I mean, ahead of time, do you say, hey, we're going to make mistakes. This is how we do it here. Say
Right.
You have 10 employees. And say it's a restaurant. Yeah, we're going to make mistakes. If you make a mistake, boom, X, Y, Z.
Right. Yeah, I think from a managerial perspective, you have to let people know that I expect you to make a mistake at some point. Right? We've talked about that in the radio station and the podcasting and all this stuff, that things are going to happen.
On the other podcast, Adriana, the producer, wasn't recording it, and we were six minutes in, so we had to start over.
It was the best 6 minutes
It was. I can't
ever.
believe it.
Yeah.
It was the best. I honestly think that could have been our reel for our podcast.
She's giving
and
us
we
the
lost
gym
it.
look right now.
Hey, it's 80. It's 100 degrees outside. It's 80 in here.
Yeah.
So we're.
It's all good. We're getting our gym
testing.
time and our podcast time.
So
in
what
at the
does
same
it
time.
reveal about your brand in mistake fixing?
Yeah, it shows that your company learns, right? And that's the biggest thing that I think is most important, is that if you are not learning from your mistakes, and if you have not told your team that we're going to make mistakes, and when we do, we have to go, well, what led to that? So going back to my initial story about losing $2,500 in 2 days, every single time I set up a meta campaign at this point, I check the dates, I triple check them, and I triple check, is it daily or is it lifetime budget? And then I triple check the budget. I do it every single time now, and it's just for that purpose, to make sure that you never waste money from a client ever again. And that has become part of our system at this point, that double check it, go back in, make sure that things are there, because if they're not, we're going to have issues. If we're not learning and creating that into our marketing system, we're going to see these mistakes over and over again. It's fine to make a mistake once or twice in an area, but if we're consistently making those mistakes over and over and over again, we're not learning. We're not implementing those changes into our system.
How do Yelp reviews and Google ratings affect the handling of mistakes?
Right. It's the deniability. We didn't do that, right? And you see this all the time where people will put a comment in there and there's no comment coming back from the owner, right? They just ignore it. They're like, yep, okay, great. You gave us a bad review. If you're in there, if you see a bad review, the number one thing, and we've talked about this extensively over the past, is go in there, identify, is this a customer? Is this somebody that has purchased from us? Understand the situation. And if they are a customer and they did have an issue, what is the remedy? What did you do? Did you respond to them? Did you come, Jim, I see you've laid out this review. I would love to make it better. We've identified you were in here, a month ago. We were unaware of what was happening. We would love to make this right. Can you give me a call today and let's make this right? If I read that as a review with a response like that, I'm going to say, oh, good, they pay attention to their customers. If I see over and over and over again, and I could name a name if I wanted to, there is this former company that I worked with, and every negative review in the last 6 months, they have not responded to at all. And that business will fail. I guarantee you that business will fail in time, because they are not paying attention, they are not responding, and they are not fixing their system. And that is the biggest thing when you look at Yelp or you look at Google reviews or you look at anywhere and people are making comments and you're not responding, it's a sinking ship. There's a hole in your ship and you're taking water on.
But some customers are just jerks.
Sure.
And you're the owner, and you have people who work for you, and where do you draw the line where you come out and you say, hey, we apologize that it didn't go real well. We've tried to make it up for you, but it's just time to get the hell out of here. When do you get to that point? What's the line? How do you define that? I
think you had it until you said, get the hell out of here, right? So it's literally, we realized there was an issue. We've tried to remedy the situation once, twice, maybe even 3 times. Some people have. You're still not happy. You're still going to be crabby about this. That's when you stop. But you've got, if it's a review or something that somebody's put out there, maybe they're bad-mouthing you out there on social media. I mean, I've had the same thing happen to me in the past with different things. Try to remedy the situation. If you can't do it, then you can't do it. I mean, look, eventually they get off their soapbox and stop yelling and they go away. But you got to realize there's that old adage, the customers are always right to a point, right? To a point, if they're just out there screaming and yelling and you're trying to make it right and nothing is ever going to happen, they're never going to be satisfied. I mean, you've got to cut it off. I mean, what we're saying is it doesn't make sense for you to always be the one that's just getting a beat down from a customer, because they're never going to change. They're always going to be that way. Walk away at that point, right? And
don't say, well, we tried everything. Now get the hell out of here.
No, don't say that. But at some point, people stop bad-mouthing you and let them go down their path. They're going to do their thing. There's nothing you can do to satisfy it. So, I don't know.
All right. So ultimately, these mistakes do what for your marketing?
They either do good things or they can do bad things, right? So from the good thing is you're learning what you've done wrong. And, let me take you back to another story. We had, I ran a strategy team a while back, and it was I would say it's my fault for one of the things that we did. So we used to sell strategy for, we had like this 3-month program that we would have, and it was $25,000, and we were dealing with large companies, and most of them didn't even blink at the $25,000. But we were doing strategy. We were doing audits on what they were doing and all this other stuff. And I had this one team member that went out there, and we had 25 hours roughly, because it was like $1,000 an hour for what we were doing, which sounds like a lot to a lot of people, and I get it. But we had 25 hours earmarked for this strategy session over 3 months. And one of my employees went out there and built this strategy session and implemented it on the first client. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, this is a great report. We'll send that over, and then we have to line up follow-ups they're going to implement. We're going to help them implement some of the stuff. And at the tail end, we'll give them a finalized report and all this other stuff. And I said, but we can't go over 25 hours because that's what we've allocated towards this. And they went, oh, well, we've got 32 hours just putting this report in. And I went, oh, no. So you spent 32 hours doing this report. And they're like, yeah, is that wrong? And I said, yeah, we have 25 hours spent to do this through the 3 months. Like, well, we need the 32 to do this because, that's where I went, oh no, I've messed up here. Because now we're physically taking money out of the company to pay this analyst for what they've done. And we have no follow-up, which means I got to pay even more in the future. I said, stop everything. I'm coming to see you. And we sat down, and I take full ownership of it. And we literally sat down and we said, you cannot spend more than 15 hours putting this initial report together for the client. Like, well, we can't do that. It's going to take, then the report's got to come down. Like, we can't do all of these things. So we learned quickly, because we had 60 of these we had to knock out in 90 days. I said, stop everything. We were about to almost bankrupt the company based on what we were planning to do. So we learned quickly. We sat down. We said, okay, you can spend no more than 15 hours on this. And we earmarked, 5 for this and 5 for this and all this other stuff, right? But if you're not paying attention to those types of things, those are mistakes that are going to cost you business, cost you time, cost you all of this stuff. And we implemented into a system, marketing system at that point. We're like, okay, as we sell more of these, we are saying, okay, well, we're going to do this report for you that takes this many hours, and then we'll follow up with you as an implementation session. We're going to take this and run with it. And then at the end, we're going to make sure that 1 or 2 of these ideas is actually up and running. If we never stopped, if we never looked at that, if we never paid attention to those mistakes, were we going to go back and tell the customer, sorry, we earmarked you for 25 hours. Now we need it for 50. Give us another 25,000. They're not going to do that. So it's those mistakes, if you pay attention to them, will solve you all kinds of problems in the future and will not get you to a point with your customers where you're in trouble.
Everybody makes mistakes. Adriana, how are you? What do we do when we schedule 2 people at one time? Which happens a lot.
You call Hanson and say, hey, we got to push you off.
They got to push you back.
We usually ask which one has a tighter schedule and then who needs to get out of there right away. We have them go first. The other one that has more flexibility, then we have them go second. But if both of them have a tight schedule, the one that was scheduled and has been scheduled the most and has come on that exact date at that exact time for the longest goes, and then we just reschedule the other one.
There you go. That's actually pretty well. I mean, it all comes down because that happens. I think we're better at it now, but it used to kind of be, all right, well, come in at 8:30 3 weeks from now, and nobody wrote it down, and then there's the person, and we scheduled somebody else. But now we got, what it did is it taught us, and the reason I bring that up is that it taught us that we needed to refine our scheduling system,
Right.
which is, the mistakes teach you your problems. Hey, he's Matt Hansen. She's Adriana Alvarez. This is Mastering Local Marketing, episode 158. If you would like your own podcast, we could do it anywhere in the world. Adriana at WJOB1230.com. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And until next time, see you later.
For over 100 years, Roofers Local 26 has been keeping Northwest Indiana dry and safe. Since 1919, our highly trained members have built a reputation for skills, safety, and reliability. With a 4-year apprenticeship and certifications in OSHA safety, first aid, and CPR, we deliver quality you can trust. When you need roofing done right, choose Roofers Local 26, protecting what matters most for over a century. For more information, visit www.roofers26.com.
Introducing Powers Health, a health system with a new name and a strong legacy of caring for families in our community. One with a tradition of advanced specialized